My mom used to tell me to take the chicken out the freezer when I got home from school. I'm my parents' only child, so I couldn't blame anyone else when I didn't do it or tell somebody else to do it. It was all on me, and best believe I forgot to do it all the time, y'all. I'm not here to get into what would happen when I forgot to do it. Just know my mom did not play, and you can use your imagination. What my mom didn't know is why I forgot to take out the chicken. I felt like it was a valid reason. I was watching TV. Now, before you take my mom's side, I get it. It's not an excuse, it's a reason. But what was so worth watching to catch smoke from my mom? Daytime talk shows. Before I was old enough to stay home by myself, I used to watch daytime talk shows with my Nana growing up. It was like clockwork. She picked me up from school, we would go home, she'd turn on Oprah, and I was supposed to be doing homework. At first I was hating because I didn't want to watch Oprah, but I'm gonna tell you something. Actually procrastinating homework will make you a fan out of everything. Sooner or later, it became our thing. Those memories meant so much to me, and I really cherish those moments with my Nana because, again, I didn't have any siblings. At first, I was astonished by how much she loved Oprah, but soon it made sense to me. I mean, Oprah was amazing. She inspired millions of people, brought people together, held meaningful conversations, and she helped so many different people. I mean, you guys remember that infamous line, "You get a house, you get a car." I remember my Nana used to joke and be like, "Yo, those people in the audience don't deserve that. We deserve that." Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. We started watching probably like 7 seasons in, but hey, we did deserve it. Those moments truly define my aspirations in this life. I used to dream of having an impact in a platform like Oprah, because deep down, I was silently hurting. What my Nana nor anyone else in my life knew is I was struggling with a deep sense of loneliness in this world. Being an only child wasn't easy for me. I used to feel so alone, and every interaction with people always felt like do or die. I used to ask myself, what can I possibly do to make people remember me and want to be my friend for long term? But it felt like no matter what I did, it didn't work. I always felt like the second choice friend. I wasn't the person who people considered first. I was the one who people would just kind of assume would show up, be there, or he was already invited. When I was in 4th grade, I remember my neighbors were having a party. We went to the same schools growing up, so we all knew the same people, and they were all at that party. I remember watching them play outside from my window, but I didn't want to go outside because I was never formally invited, so I didn't want to intrude. I so desperately waited and hoped that somebody would just knock on the door and say, "Hey, can Nigel come out and play?" But no one did. You see, that loneliness birthed a deep feeling of unworthiness within me. And I felt like just being myself wasn't enough. If I wasn't perfect, the best, or doing something so extraordinary, nobody would care. If I wasn't the best student, the best athlete, the funniest, the smartest, the coolest, the flyest, people wouldn't see me. And you know, I fell short of that often. So sooner or later, I wrapped that feeling of loneliness and unworthiness around me like a blanket, and I told myself, people in my life are gonna come here today, gone tomorrow. Everybody's in my life is seasonal, and the only person I can trust is myself. Whether it was family, friends, whoever, they were all going to abandon me, and at the end of the day, all I had was myself. People often talk about abandonment as somebody physically leaving, but I always felt like my form of abandonment was people emotionally leaving me. And all I had in this world was me, myself, and I. I can't lie to y'all. That brought me to a very, very dark place that I didn't often speak about. At my absolute lowest, I had a friend named Savannah, she has such a beautiful heart. Through talking to her, I found out that she attempted suicide because of her own loneliness. The only thing that saved her was this idea that God would be mad at her if she saw it through. You see, loneliness has a way of helping you understand that line of despair, not just for other people, but for yourself. I thought about her often. I thought about how that could have been me. But what helped me distinguish between the darkness? Vulnerability. It seemed like whenever I was vulnerable, people would remember me or they would want to connect with me more. I didn't have to go too deep into what I was feeling, just enough that surprised people about the death of an emotional Black man. What was even more surprising is whenever I opened up, it felt as if people would just heal. They would feel better. They wouldn't feel as alone. And a light bulb sparked into me. I told myself, I'm gonna make it my mission to turn my pain into purpose and do everything I can in my power to make sure that nobody felt alone as I did. And guys, it was working. I started a student organization here at the University of Kentucky that was based in making students feel like they belong on this campus, which just celebrated 10 years on campus. Thank you. I wrote a children's book to tell all children, but specifically Black children, that anything that you do in this world, all the possibilities are endless, and you can do it. You just gotta keep trying. Just to be able to do a book tour for that book and go to schools from kindergarten all the way to high school to look those kids in their face and say, you matter, your dreams matter, you are worthy, you can do it. To creating a podcast that allowed multiple people to feel seen, heard, listened to, and so many more things I don't even have the time to tell y'all right now. But guys, it was really working. Or so I thought. No matter what I did, who I met, what I accomplished, I couldn't escape that feeling of loneliness. I spent so much of my time trying to make sure everybody felt comfortable, just to realize I never felt comfortable the whole time. How is it that I felt so lonely? I have people who love me, who invite me out to things, who consider me, who check on me, and yet it felt too good to be true. You see, the funny thing about vulnerability and opening up with different people is I was starting to recognize patterns for other people that are in a similar space. I know a girl who is so deserving of a safe and healthy love, but anytime it presents to her, she runs away and goes back to toxicity. I have multiple cousins whose heart call out for them to live out their dreams and their purpose, and yet they settle for their situation or the job that they don't like. And then there's me, someone who is so deserving of a genuine connection, but found every reason to push people away. What do we all have in common? One word: familiarity. Guys, let's face it, the unknown is scary. And we try our hardest to try to control what we don't know is gonna happen so we can mitigate feeling hurt or disappointed. We use our past as if it's some type of never-changing final grade to measure who we are, who we allow in, and where we can go. But I need everybody in this room to hear me right now. Your past isn't a life sentence. We can't make the mistake of thinking that everything that is familiar to us is still serving us, is good for us, and is always protecting us. It's one thing to be familiar with joy and peace and love, But what happens when we're familiar with toxicity, chaos, loneliness? When we're familiar with joy, or when we're familiar with chaos, joy becomes fear. And things going right becomes we're going to start self-sabotaging. When we're familiar with toxicity, healthy and safe become boring. We run away and go back towards chaos. And the reason why it's so hard for us to distinguish between the two is because it's so normalized to us. Look at me. Loneliness was so worthy that any genuine connection that felt very unworthy. It made me feel unworthy. I saw every connection as being too good to be true. But the question is, was it too good to be true? Or was I too traumatized from my past to accept it? Our past tells us that there's a shortage in what we can achieve, but that isn't true. The life, the career, the love, the dream, and everything in between, it is all within reach. But first, you have to let go. When you let go of the expectation of what will happen, you allow what can happen to unfold. And that in itself can open so many doors for y'all. And then you just got to give yourself the permission to walk through those doors. Also, we have to heal from the narratives that we tell ourselves that perpetuate us into these cycles of not being able to open ourselves up to accept it. And I wish I could sit here and tell you how to heal, but that journey of healing looks different for everyone. But it is possible, though, guys. It starts with that permission. When I was in elementary school, I signed up for a school talent show. I wanted to make it a talk show, but I didn't know how to because, young. And I told myself, talk shows have performances, so you can sing. So that's what I did. You guys remember that 2001 Usher song, You Remind Me? All right, I need y'all to be with me. It goes, you remind me of a girl that I once knew. See her face whenever I look at you. That is all the singing y'all getting from me today. That's all. I was singing that. Man, I was just so excited to perform this song. I practiced hours on hours. I was watching so many R&B music videos. I told myself when I hit that stage, I'm going to stand like this. And when the song happened, I did stand like this. The song was playing, and as I was singing my little heart out, I was doing what every R&B artist would do in the moment. And y'all, I'm not going to lie. I bodied it. When I was done singing my heart out, I looked out to the crowd, and it was silent. All of a sudden, I heard, woo! Yo, people were standing up. I got a standing ovation. They were yelling out. They were screaming, and my little heart was like, oh, my goodness, I made it. Now I'm joking. I didn't get a standing ovation, guys. I didn't get a standing ovation. But people did clap, and that's what's important. People clapped, and they said I did great. As I walked off the stage, and I was headed home, and my parents were taking me home, they were telling me how great I did. And in that moment, I told myself, I'm meant to be on stage. I'm meant to have a platform. I'm going to have an impact on this world. I knew it in that moment. The next day, I was excited to go to school. I knew my classmates are going to hear about it because some were there. And of course, the whole world knew about the kid who just bodied Usher in his song. So I'm famous now. So because I'm famous, I was like, yo, I'm going to bring my favorite crayon. It's broken, but a broken crayon can still color. And I'm going to sign them autographs. I got to school, and I saw my classmates huddled up, and I was so excited, y'all. I was sitting there like, yeah, they about to tell me I'm about to sign these autographs. But instead, they told me I did terrible. They made fun of me, and instantly my heart shattered. When I went home, I isolated myself in my room. And I told myself, you don't matter, your dreams don't matter, and you will never hit a stage again. As I look into this crowd full of family, friends, mentors, mentees, people who I love, as I'm aware that there's so many people streaming this right now, absolutely going crazy. My phone's probably blowing up right now. I'm looking at all of you guys and thinking to myself, imagine if I allowed my past to be a life sentence. I would not be here today to accept all this love from all my people. And I wouldn't be here today to be able to share my story with you on this stage. Your past doesn't have to define you. You can heal from it. The way I healed was giving myself the permission to try and try and try again. My name is Nigel Marcellus Taylor, and I'm here to put the world on notice. One day, I'll be on a bigger stage, shining even brighter. Peace and love, y'all.